An airport. For some, it's the beginning of a long-awaited journey. For others, it's real stress with screenings, lines, and waiting for a flight. But sometimes, behind the scenes of routine checks, discoveries happen that take your breath away. A live lobster in a suitcase, a tiger cub among stuffed animals, or even a pistol hidden in a raw chicken. Sounds like a movie? No, it's all reality. Today, you will see 20 of the most insane things that security services have found in airports. In 2022, at John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York, security officers paid attention to a passenger in a wheelchair. The reason for suspicion was simple. The wheels were working with obvious difficulty, as if something were interfering. When the chair was examined by X-ray, nearly 13 kilograms of cocaine were found inside, hidden right in the wheel rims. The street value of this cargo was estimated at almost $500,000. Despite the attempt to play on trust in a person with disabilities, the plan failed. The offender was detained and handed over to special services. This story showed that criminals are ready to use the most unexpected cover, and airport staff must always stay vigilant. This time we move to Colombia, where one of the most unusual smuggling schemes was uncovered. A woman decided to fake a pregnancy to hide drugs under an artificial belly. From the outside, everything looked convincing. A rounded silhouette, a gait matching the image. But when security officers grew suspicious and asked to check the woman more carefully, the belly felt too cold and too rigid to the touch. Further inspection confirmed the suspicions. About 2 kilograms of cocaine were inside the fake belly. This story showed how far some are willing to go for profit. But the consequences were serious. The woman faced up to 8 years in prison. In 2020 in Dallas, Transportation Security Administration officers experienced a real shock. During luggage inspection, they found not clothes and not souvenirs, but several dead birds. The owner of the baggage claimed they were meant as food for cats. The explanation looked extremely dubious and raised even more questions. The situation was complicated by the fact that the traveler had arrived from China, and that meant a risk of spreading avian flu, a virus capable of threatening both humans and animals. Given the heightened attention to health issues in 2020, the authorities decided to destroy the contents of the luggage to eliminate even the slightest danger. This case clearly shows airport screening is needed not only to prevent terrorist attacks, but also to protect the health of millions of people. Drug smuggling always pushes criminals to the most intricate ideas. In 2022 in Mumbai, the police received a tip and thoroughly checked arriving passengers. As a result, a woman was found with cocaine hidden not only in her luggage, but also right in her shoes. The logic of the plan was simple. Few people think to look for drugs in soles or insoles. However, a thorough inspection ruined the clever plan. Similar schemes appear in other countries too. For example, several years ago, drug traffickers hid heroin in soap, making it look like ordinary laundry bars. Others tried to sew powder directly into clothing linings using specially made pockets. But screening technology develops no less quickly than the inventiveness of smugglers. And even the most invisible caches often reveal themselves on X-ray or during manual inspection. This story clearly shows, the more cunning the scheme, the more attentively security works. In that same 2021, the Transportation Security Administration summed up the most unusual finds. And in 10th place in their ranking was a case that occurred in Atlantic City. There, officers discovered 6 cartridges hidden inside an ordinary deodorant. At first glance, the idea seemed creative. After all, who would check hygiene items? But you cannot fool X-ray machines. The cartridges showed up immediately, and the attempt failed. Why the person tried to carry ammunition in this way is not entirely clear. but we can say with confidence that the goal was the same: to bypass the rules prohibiting the transportation of cartridges on airplanes. True, without a firearm, the bullets by themselves looked like an even stranger find. At Fort Lauderdale Airport in Florida, a passenger decided to hide a pistol inside a raw chicken. Yes, the weapon was wrapped in plastic and carefully inserted into the bird's carcass. Apparently, the calculation was that screeners would not want to mess with raw meat and would simply let the baggage pass. But Transportation Security Administration employees do not look for easy paths. Their job is precisely to check even the strangest objects. The pistol was found instantly, and the plan failed. This case became a telling example. No matter how inventive smugglers are, deceiving the security service is still almost impossible. In 2017 at Boston's airport, Transportation Security Administration officers discovered something quite unusual in a passenger's baggage: an enormous live lobster. And what is most interesting, it is not prohibited to transport lobsters in suitcases or even in carry-on. Especially in New England, this is a fairly common practice. To avoid trouble and to prevent the claws from meeting any staff member, the lobster's claws were carefully secured with tape, and then it was placed in a cooled container so it would stay fresh throughout the trip. Such stories are yet more proof that in the work of security officers, there are not only stressful moments, but also amusing ones. After all, you do not pull a live lobster out of a suitcase every day. In Bangkok, a story occurred that amazed even the most experienced airport employees. In a normal-looking suitcase full of stuffed animals, they found not a toy, but a real live tiger cub sedated with sleeping pills. Initially, staff thought the suitcase with plush animals was intended for some charitable organization. But among the teddy bears and rabbits, a real tiger cub was hidden. The find caused public shock and, of course, ended with the arrest of the courier. The woman was heading to Iran, where the tiger cub was to be sold on the black market. This case showed the extremes people will go to in order to profit from exotic animals, and also how important it is for security services to be attentive even to seemingly harmless baggage. An even more disturbing story happened in Spain. A father dreamed of reuniting with his 8-year-old son and took a desperate step. He paid smugglers to help bring the child into the country by hiding him in a suitcase. Fortunately, airport staff noticed something wrong and saved the boy. The father, however, faced severe consequences. He awaited a trial and serious charges. He claimed that he did not know about such a method of transport and that the plan had been devised by the smugglers. This story is a frightening reminder of the risks posed by illegal border crossing methods and how tragically it all could have ended. In New Delhi, airport staff uncovered a clever but ultimately failed attempt to take a large amount of cash out of the country. The smugglers decided to hide rolled-up banknotes right in food, in cookies, and even in peanuts. The idea looked quite inventive. Who would meticulously check such everyday products? But airport screening technology leaves no chance even for the most camouflaging tricks. What exactly motivated the people who tried to carry this money is not known for certain. However, one thing is clear. Behind such schemes, there are rarely good intentions, but rather a banal thirst for profit. This story is a reminder that creativity, directed the wrong way, rarely brings results. Sometimes airport staff encounter finds that are hard even to imagine. A routine scanner, a familiar procedure, and suddenly on the screen, a strange shape that defies explanation. A woman in a tight-fitting dress, accentuating her excessive curves, calmly passed through the portal. But the X-ray showed something incredible. Inside her pelvis, there was a chandelier. Yes, a real chandelier. The situation turned out to be far more frightening than it first seemed. The woman had undergone an experimental and extremely dangerous cosmetic procedure during which an object made of light material but of a strange shape was surgically placed into her body. Everything went wrong, and the chandelier began to cause serious complications. As a result, doctors had to remove it, and the case sparked a storm of discussion. Just imagine, coming to screening and discovering that something like that is hidden inside you. And have you ever heard of more absurd finds? In 2009 at Newark Airport, New Jersey, an incident occurred that made many passengers jump. During screening, right on the conveyor belt of the security checkpoint, there suddenly appeared a live snake about 40 centimeters long. Panic among people arose instantly. After all, no one knew whether it was venomous. Fortunately, the reptile turned out to be harmless. Apparently, it crawled out of someone's baggage and had been traveling around the terminal unnoticed for a long time until a little girl spotted it. Although the situation ended well, it clearly showed that animal smuggling remains a serious problem. Reptiles and other exotic species are often transported secretly, and detecting them can be difficult, especially if they do not contain any metal objects. The snake's owner, of course, lost his lost and found, and the Transportation Security Administration made it clear no one intends to return the animal to the violator. Here is another story that sounds more like a joke. During luggage screening with an X-ray machine, Transportation Security Administration staff noticed the silhouette of an animal inside. When the suitcase was opened, it turned out a live cat was sitting in it. The passenger said he had no idea how the pet ended up in his baggage. The version sounded highly implausible, but the truth surfaced quickly. It turned out the cat belonged to this passenger's neighbor and simply had the habit of climbing into boxes and bags. That is how it accidentally ended up inside the suitcase that went to the airport. Fortunately, the animal was returned to its owner, and no charges were filed. This story became one of those amusing cases when a serious problem turned into a humorous situation. In 2021 at Bradley Airport, Transportation Security Administration staff found a strange item during baggage inspection. A lipstick that turned out not to be a lipstick at all. It was a stun gun disguised as cosmetics. But the surprises did not end there. Next to the lipstick lay 3.38 caliber cartridges. And this is where the situation became even more intriguing. Under air travel rules, cartridges are strictly prohibited in carry-on baggage, while stun guns are permitted, but only if they are properly packaged. Why someone needed to hide a weapon under the guise of harmless lipstick and carry ammunition at the same time remains a mystery. But it is precisely such strange combinations that turn the work of security into a chain of surprises. In 2021 in New York, one of the strangest smuggling attempts took place. A man tried to carry through the airport 35 live songbirds. And he hid them not just anywhere, but in hair rollers that he attached directly to his clothing. The method looked extremely risky. Birds naturally chirp, and any melody could have given away the cargo. But, as it turned out, the motivation was serious. These birds are valued in circles of illegal singing competitions, where the winner can earn up to $10,000. The smuggler confessed that he had been promised $500 in advance and another $2,500 after successful delivery. This episode vividly shows that for easy money, people are willing to risk not only themselves, but also living creatures. Now let's move into the world of spy stories. A cane that turns out to be a weapon is a genre classic. At first glance, it is an ordinary walking aid, but inside it hides a blade. Exactly such a cane was discovered at Logan Airport in Boston. The metal detector went off, and Transportation Security Administration staff decided to check the item. How surprised they were when a real sword was extracted from the cane. The owner, amusingly, claimed he did not know about the hidden blade. However, his explanations did not save him. The cane was confiscated, and the man was allowed to continue on. This case reminded everyone that the imagination of smugglers sometimes rivals spy movies. In 2017 in Australia, a Japanese tourist was detained while trying to carry through Perth Airport an entire collection of live bobtail lizards. In his baggage, staff found 13 animals hidden in cloth pouches. At first glance, the smuggler showed care, trying to reduce the animals' suffering during the flight. But in reality, it was a cruel and dangerous operation. Bobtails, also called shinglebacks, are highly valued on the black market for their rarity and unusual appearance. The cost of a single such lizard can reach up to $10,000 depending on coloration and health. Therefore, they are caught and exported illegally in large numbers, causing colossal damage to Australia's ecosystem. Fortunately, these lizards were saved in time. The smuggler himself paid a fine of $10,000, which became a demonstrative measure of punishment. This case reminded everyone that the fight against illegal wildlife trade requires not only strict laws, but also international cooperation. Although this story is not directly related to an airport, it became a loud example of smugglers' ingenuity. In 2019, Spanish border guards stopped a car with a mattress in which 2 men were hiding. In this way, coyotes, that is what people engaged in illegal transport of migrants are called, tried to move them into Europe. The plan turned out to be completely unsuccessful. Both the shape and the weight of the mattress immediately aroused suspicion. Although the men found inside were not physically harmed, the risk to their lives was enormous. This case again proves the thirst for easy money drives criminals to insane schemes, regardless of the safety of those they transport. In Pittsburgh, a baggage screening initially raised no suspicion. Inside was a jar of ordinary peanut butter, but Transportation Security Administration equipment detected something strange, and officers decided to open the container. Inside were 3 vape cartridges filled with marijuana, carefully wrapped in plastic. The owner insisted the weed was for medical purposes, but the very fact of trying to carry it covertly violated the law. The attempt to fool security ended with a call to the police and unpleasant consequences for the passenger. This story once again shows, even if something is legalized in one place, it does not mean you can carry it across borders without hindrance. In 2019, at a Philippine airport, one of the largest operations to curb animal smuggling took place. Staff found abandoned suitcases containing 1,529 live turtles. The animals were wrapped with tape so they would not move and hidden inside the luggage. Among them were rare and protected species: star tortoises, red-footed tortoises, and sulcata tortoises. On the black market, the value of such a shipment could exceed $50,000. It is believed the suitcases were simply abandoned due to the risk of getting caught at screening. This case vividly shows how high the demand for exotic animals is and what monstrous methods smugglers use. In the Philippines, severe punishments are provided for such crimes, from large fines to prison terms. But as long as there is demand, the fight against this evil remains a constant race. In 2022, a story about the most unusual way of transporting gold spread around the world. A passenger from India tried to hide under a wig almost 700 grams of the precious metal, which equaled approximately 24 ounces and was valued at $43,000. The idea looked absurd. Metal is too heavy and is easily detected by scanners. But the smuggler hoped that under the artificial hair, the filling would go unnoticed. The plan failed instantly. Metal detectors registered an anomaly, and the inspection revealed everything. Indeed, such finds happen regularly. There have been cases where gemstones were hidden in boxes of chocolates or even in shoe soles. But, as practice shows, any attempt to hide such things is sooner or later uncovered. These stories prove that airports are not only about lines and flight delays. Behind the scenes, entire dramas and absurd comedies unfold here. From a lobster in a suitcase to a tiger cub among stuffed toys, from a gold wig to a pistol in a chicken, the human imagination knows no bounds. And now a question for you. Which of these finds seemed the most insane to you? And do you think all these attempts are a manifestation of desperation or foolishness? Write your opinion in the comments and be sure to leave a story you would like to add to this list. See you in the next episode.